So in this tutorial we're going to look at how to turn the data that we get into something more useful before we send it to ourselves. First thing you want to do is go to your data folder and clear out all the data that you put there from previous tutorials, and you will want to open process.php. Okay, so right now we're using just a simple debug, print everything we get, and we will be swapping this out for something that actually gives us data in the form of a CSV. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through my experiment and put data in as many places as I can. So let's just go here. So I'm going to check a couple of these, check other, give me some text. Okay, make sure I scroll some, change the windowing. Now for this page I can either fill these diagnoses boxes or check none found. So I'll have to only do one per experiment run. So I'm going to use diagnosis boxes the first time. Again, I'm going to check a bunch of things. Okay. Now I should have some new data. I'm going to open that up as well. So this will just give me a list of most of the fields that I'm going to need to look at in my process file. Okay, so let's start. We've created all as an empty string, so we're going to go under that, and we're going to add some information that our server itself collects. So all, and then it's dot equals for appending a string. I'm going to get their IP address. And since this is a CSV, I'm going to put a comma there, and then dot, and then this is like that get array we used earlier, so dollar, undersign, and then server, all uppercase. And then all uppercase, remote, underscore, ADDR. And then dot, and then let's put a new line in. Okay, so this will get the IP address of the user. We can use this later to look up their location. It's generally accurate. So we're going to get the date that they submitted it. So uppercase Y dash M dash D. Copy this. Time. And this will be date uppercase H colon I colon S for hours, minutes, seconds. Okay, and now we're going to get the time zone if it's available. So if I get, and then in quotes, date dot time zone. So if we do have a time zone, then add that to our all. Dot INI get, so same thing, quotes, date dot time zone. Okay, but if we couldn't get it, then we will set our server time zone to just be unset. Here. So unknown. Why not? Now we're going to use a function that will get data from the post array that we were given, and this array is filled with our form values and things that the user filled in on the client side. So we have a helper function called addLine. So all dot equals addLine, and this function will take the key that we used for the data. So for example, let's start with our server-y stuff. So our page version here, I'm going to copy that, paste, and I don't need to put a comma here because the add line will automatically give us a comma. But page version isn't a very useful name, so I'm going to do this second optional parameter here, and this will be page code version. And so this looks for an item keyed to this name, and then it's going to rename it to page code version and also give it the value. So, semicolon. Oh, let's also add a new line. Okay, so now I'm just going to have a bunch of those. So all dot equals add line. Okay, so now we're on user version. That's a good enough name, so I'm going to leave it as is. No need to rename it with the second parameter. Viewer version. Well, that's interesting. And I also have this sync time I haven't put in yet. Okay, I'm going to start a new section for my inches and pixels. So viewer inch, viewer pixels. That's roughly all the information that the server sent me. Let's now add some functions for dealing with each page. So down here below where I saved my data, it's a good spot to make my functions. So I'm going to skip this consent continue. Basically, this will always be yes. If it wasn't yes, then it would have just taken to that early thank you page, and they would have never sent any data. If there's any legal reason, or like IRB prefer you to actually, store this, then, make a page for your consent, or make a, function for your consent page. Otherwise, it's really unnecessary. So I'm just going to go straight to my demographics page. So just function p demographics. Okay, and I'm going to make a variable for returning. So this is kind of like my all variable, but specific to this function. Let's see, let's make a title for our page. So okay, /n for new line. Make sure you're using the right slashes on these. This is a backslash. The demographics page has quite a bit, so I'm just going to do r dot equals add line. Same as before. I'm just going to copy and paste a bunch of these. Okay, so I got my age, got my gender, got my certification. It's possible you have a text box for this option. I had accidentally removed mine, but there might be something like okay. So let's rename our stuff. So And we do have this other text that will be added as a line. Okay, so instead of add line, I'm going to combine checkboxes. C-O-M-B-I-N-E. So I'm going to use these ordered values. This is a good function if you have multiple values that you're combining, but the numbers don't, but there might be gaps in the numbers. So let's do pdemographics exp. I'm going to remove the number from that because the numbers are just going to be appended afterward. And so this will go from 1 to 5. And let's rename it to experience. And semicolon. Okay, now let's make a new function for our next page. So this will be the first trial. Okay. Oh, wait. Definitely don't forget to return your string you've been creating here. So first I'm going to add a new line to it. Now I'm going to return it. There we go. Okay, now on with the next page. I'm going to give it a title, same as before. Maybe some meaningful name describing the trial. Okay, and this one also had checkboxes, so I'm going to use combine ordered values again, and it was this p trial 1 abnorm. And same as before, remove our numbers. See. Oh, I put a 5 here. That's probably wrong. Let's look at, let's see, v.php. So I have 6 options. Down here, I think I do actually have 5 options. So yeah, so this one is 5. I'm not going to rename it. Something else that's worth remembering is we have timed our trials. So let's see, where's our time? Here we are. So we have these p trial 2 start time, end time, duration fields. So let's make another function for getting times. Okay, and this will get name, and if we want to give it a new name, so this will be name, and then concatenate it with start time, and then we're going to rename it to whatever our new name would be. Concatenated with start. Do one for end and duration. And we're concatenating these strings here, so without a semicolon. And now let's go to our trial page and we'll add our times. Let's do timing. And then our name will be the start here, so this P trial 2. And we're going to rename it just to trial 2. And we also have an other box to get, so we'll do add line. And then our other, it's just this 5. No, it wasn't. There we go. You do 2. Let's see. Oh, that was wrong. This should be trial 1. Okay, and so now for our windowing trial, so for this one we had these diagnoses. So these we can't say count up to a specific number because we don't know what number that is. You know, they could have clicked 50 times, you know, so whoops. So there could be, you know, more than 2 of these. So we are going to use a different function. So r dot equals combine all ordered values, because we have guaranteed that they are going to be 1 through something and there won't be any holes. So all ordered values. So combine all ordered values only works if you have numbers counting up from 1 to something without any holes, and combine ordered values counts up to a specific number, but it does allow for holes. And I also need to add a section looking for my checkbox if they indicated that nothing was found. So this was not submitted this time because we could only submit either diagnoses or that checkbox. So let's go back to v.php, scroll down a little, and we are wanting its name here, so p trial 2 none found. I'm not going to bother renaming it. And basically this will, if it is set, say none found. Otherwise, this will just say unset. So one of these 2 options will be set and one of them will be unset. Okay, so let's add a return to both of our new functions. So for the comment page, let's see, what was that called? P comments box. So we're just going to add a line. Okay, and let's make sure to return it. So now we're going to append each function. So all dot equals p demographics, all dot equals p trial 1, trial 2. P comment. But we're not quite done. We also have this scroll information down here, and we have a shader log that we would want to add. So let's add another new line for fun. And let's add list. So this is kind of like that combine function. It's going to need the name minus the number, and we're going to go from 1 to 2 because we only have the first 2 trial indices used. And I'm also going to want to add the shader log. That's not a typical list because it's just 1. So all dot equals, I'm going to do add line. And I'm going to do some odd formatting here because I have these hash marks that I use for formatting my lists. So, where am I? There it is. Right, in quote, open quote. Okay, and I'm going to add a third optional parameter, which specifies whether or not the values appear on the same line as the key. And in this case, I don't. I want the values to appear underneath my title, I guess. So I'm going to hit false for not on the same line. Okay, and now I'm assuming that you had kept this line and this line. So I'm going to change test here to be my experiment name. So this is just appended to the file name. So make sure it's something that your OS is okay with. And then this line here will take the file name and it will actually add it to our data. So that way, if we have our data in a big spreadsheet, we can go back and look for an individual file in case we haven't stored like our scroll log and everything in that massive master file. So one thing you might want to do if your server supports it is use this mail function. So I can give it an email address, a subject. I'm just going to make it my file name, and the body of the email. And so now every time I get new data, it saves it on my server, but it also emails me a copy. This is only if your server supports this. Not every web host will give you email. Something else you might want to do if you're using Windows, it might help to change your new lines. Right now I'm just using a single new line character, which is how Unix works, and Mac. But if you're using Windows, you might want to replace all the new lines with /r/n for DOS endings. Replace all. Right, so now I'm going to go and I'm going to delete my data. And let's run through this again. So first I'm going to jump through it to make sure it actually works. Okay. Not seeing any errors on my server, so that's good. I see data. Okay, so most of these will be unset because, you know, I just skipped these pages. Oh, and I'm still outputting all my debug stuff, so let's remove that. So let's go to the debugging thing that we had uncommented and comment it back. Okay, now let's run through for real. So I'm going to go, yes, I consent. Okay, so we can look at our data. If we want to, I can open it with a spreadsheet. Okay, so those combine functions, what they do is they take all of the possible values under that key and they combine it into one. So now all my checkboxes are all one cell. My diagnoses were all one cell. You know. Okay, let's run one more. Okay, so now I have another piece of data. So let's open this up in a spreadsheet as well. Okay, let's say I want to combine all my data. So I'm just going to copy everything up till my scrolls. And I'm going to paste special. So I want to transpose it. And then, let's see, that one was... Yeah, okay, so this is my new one. So I can copy everything up to my scrolls. Again, paste special, transpose, okay. And so, now I have all my data in one spreadsheet. So that's how we turn our data into something more useful on the server before sending it to us. Your email probably will actually spit out a little error here just saying that you haven't set up your email, and that's fine. The email line won't actually work, I expect, until you put your experiment on a real server. So for now, just ignore that.